Hello, and welcome to this lesson on customizing the mobile interface and looking at how we can integrate with device features. This lesson is part of a series. So far, we've looked at how the existing screens within Sage CRM can be tailored, how we can add our own new custom screens, and how we can add in a new custom entity into the screen as well. We've looked at the way in which we can automate behavior with table level scripts and escalation rules, but now we're turning our attention to what we can do with the integration with the device features itself. Now we're going to see in this lesson how we can integrate potentially with features, obviously with the mail and email features and the phone features of the phone itself, the call features and email. We'll also start to look at what we can do as well, potentially, to take advantage of some of the device specific features as well. Now, we'll build up to this and we'll understand as well as we go through some of the limitations presented to us by the mobile optimized theme, but it will allow us to understand all of the potential settings that we need to look at. Now, we're going to start by looking at the obvious elements within the device, which is the email and phone. But as part of that, what we need to understand is that there is existing material that will document much of what I'm going to talk about now. So there's documentation available on configuring the email and SMS messages inside Sage CRM. You can refer to the System Administrator Guide to see there that there are detailed instructions on setting up, what are the fields that need to be completed and how you need to complete those for email and SMS. And we can also see that not only is there information in terms of the documentation on the Help Center, but there's also videos and resources available up on the Sage Support and Training YouTube channel. You can get quick links to those by using some of these little accelerator URLs, so help.sagecrm.com, video.sagecrm.com. That take you to those locations where there's more information about the topics that we'll be looking at today. But Sage CRM provides extensive capabilities for managing communications. There are escalation rules, and there's email filing across and between the connections with both the desktop and the mobile devices. And what I hope that this training course is going to sort of outline for you is how you can create and keep track of records, configure as well, and think about how escalation rules can be configured to send emails out from within Sage CRM, how we can receive those within the mobile device, how we can then respond to those, and how that response is then recaptured back into Sage CRM. So we'll look at the way in which emails can be appropriately filed within inside Sage CRM. Now, if we are going to create records in the mobile device, you can see here that I'm starting to enter the details of a company inside, or I'm updating information about a company here inside this mobile screen. We can create records. Those are the contacts that we're dealing with. We can create as well opportunity records, case records, and each time we create a record, we are doing so in the context of other other records so that there's this sense of association and relatedness. And we were looking at the idea of context as we were in the previous lessons. But as we do this, there is an event that is taking place that we can both identify within the process of validation and also within the table level scripts. We can cause as well. Some of the actions that we may take place within the browser is the creation of a communication record. So you can create there a note of a communication, a calendar task that will go into the context of the parental record. And we can update those tasks as well. So we can find and open a record to edit, we can make changes, save updates. These are all events that we can then identify as taking place within the mobile device, and we can then use to be the basis of behavior. Now, we've seen that, and we've seen that how specific fields can also be managed correctly in all the way to be able to control and integrity of the data. Now, if we imagine working inside the main environment, the main user interface for a moment, we can think that up on the top right of the Sage CRM interface, and the top right, you'll have the little bell icon where the notifications are. So Sage CRM's escalation rules ensure that users receive important reminders and notifications. Very often those are on-screen notifications. But those notifications as well could be, for example, an SMS message or an email message, which are accessed on the mobile device. Now, escalation rules are time-based, so they are executed on the server as data is checked according to a period, either a general period of however many minutes or a specific one associated with that escalation rule, that it doesn't require any input from the browser, it doesn't require any input from the mobile device, but nevertheless, that data state is going to be checked to see what has happened and whether an execution condition has been satisfied in order for an event to happen. So a notification to be sent out as an SMS message or as an email. We get this as these triggers that perhaps we can see that if somebody enters data inside the mobile device, an escalation rule could be used to generate something automatically. So somebody records the fact that they have updated a company record. A communication task could be automatically created as a completed task as that has been done. So we can keep a track, an audit trail of what somebody has done within the system. Likewise, as data is inserted or updated, escalation rules can be used to receive automated email reminders, all triggered by the data conditions that are satisfied during that check. Now, we can also understand that it's not just emails, it's SMS, it's all these sort of messaging, and they're flying back and between the servers. You can see here, I've actually taken a screenshot where I've generated out a standard notification message that has come up onto my mobile device. So the mobile device is just within this environment of whatever is automated within the server to generate the alerts that go onto the mobile device, that you may then make data changes either to a primary entity or to a secondary entity, even a custom entity like project, and then that in turn then generates the changes that are in the server that will then potentially trigger all sorts of other escalation behavior. Now, We can't use user-driven behavior, but the behavior that the escalation rules can do, and we actually discussed this in our previous lesson, we've got all sorts of behavior to change data within inside Sage CRM. So the sorts of alerts that we might find ourselves dealing with within the mobile device are going to be alerts for assignment of work. A new opportunity has been assigned to you. A new company has been added to your list. You might even find that there is information about meetings or calendar elements, or you might find that it's to do with the general change to data within the system that is affected. Now, Sage CRM, we can't drive and press a button on the mobile optimized theme. You need the desktop theme within a tablet to be able to get those behaviors. But we saw in the last lesson how we can nevertheless use table level scripts to perform specific actions. They can send emails when a record is inserted, when it's updated or deleted. This allows for, within a table level script, similar automation to workflow actions. And we saw as well that we can be very distinct to understand that the table level script is being driven by a specifically mobile screen. You can see here on the slide that's in front of you how it's got this idea of the table level script has recognized that the insert has occurred, and you'll see that it's looked at the URL of the inserting page to identify that this is a mobile instance. So it knows who the user is who's just carried out the insertion, it knows the context of the data that has just been inserted, and it knows that it comes from a mobile device. You can use this to cascade change throughout the system. So one of the ways in which we can work, because we're generating all sorts of things, is to think about what I want to do as a user within my phone. So we understand that automatically we could be generating things as we change things in the interface. We could be affecting things which create other alerts for other users who are also mobile users. But what if we are just wanting to use our device and send an email, and to be able to want that email filed into Sage CRM? What we've got within the environment of the mobile is the ability to press an email address and have that start up the native behavior of the email client that's installed. So that might be Outlook, or it might be the mail program for iPhones or whatever. If we want to file it, one of the tools that we can use to have that email sent from the mobile device and have it recorded back automatically into CRM is to use the concept of the Advanced Mail Manager. Now, the Advanced Mail Manager works on the basis that you would copy, with a blind carbon copy, a particular monitored email address. So you're sending it to the customer. That's either directly from your mobile device or directly, so just from your phone's contacts list, or from the email address that is within the context of CRM, that's a mail to address. You start the process, but you include the CC, the BCC, as this specified email address, which, let's call it file it at my company. So you send a file it email, and because it's sent to a monitored email account, monitored by the Advanced Mail Manager, that Advanced Mail Manager can then process the inbound email in which it was blind carbon copied, read it, understand who it was originally sent to, that's the contact, and then file it with inside Sage CRM. So the Advanced Mail Manager can be used to parse the emails to be able to file anywhere with inside Sage CRM, generating, because of the way in which the Advanced Mail Manager works, and there's a standard template within the Advanced Mail Manager called communications.js that has this facility to automatically provide an automatic tracking response to the customer to say, or to you, and say this email has been filed and it's been associated with you as well. You can even do sophisticated things, forward the email, and if you don't know who that person is inside Sage CRM, because there isn't an address that matches it, it can create a lead, or it can create and add that person to the system as well. So it can be filed in CRM, maintaining the context. So that's the idea, that you can use the Advanced Mail Manager when you're working with your phone to be able to send the emails and have things stored straight away. But there's another mechanism as well, because we've got all these emails that are on our phones. They're also on our, they're all of course, they are also stored within the context of the mail server. And if we are using Exchange, then what we can use is the email import feature. Now that I'm showing you this within the desktop interface, because this allows users to import emails into Sage CRM and link them with company, person, and opportunity, and to take that imported email, including any attachments, and have them stored into the relevant communications tab of the record. So you can bring that from an Exchange Online account and then file them against the company, the person, the opportunity, or the case record within inside Sage CRM. Another feature is if you have wanting to bring things that are ultimately within inside the server email account and bring them back. These are messages that may have been sent. You can then use the Outlook drag and drop feature, or the drag and drop feature for communication of records. You can drag and drop emails from your email client into the communications tab of a company or a person record, and that ensures emails are stored there within inside the system, and they're linked to the relevant records as well. And that's the same. I've assumed that you're using Exchange, but actually when you want to use this drag and drop feature, it can be used for when customers are using Gmail as well and wanting to file those Gmail records into CRM as well. Just drag and drop, and it drops into the communications area. Now, I've talked about this idea of using the devices to send emails to and then carry out actions. But what if we are wanting to capture information, like you've sent other communications of a WhatsApp or an SMS message? And it's the same problem as well with phone calls. The capturing of this type of interaction is not available through the mobile theme. So it's not available out of the box. You would have to have a mobile app to be able to capture the WhatsApp messages or SMS messages that were sent from interacting with the telephone numbers or the emails that are shown on the screen. It's really it's not the email addresses that we've seen. If you're sending the emails, there are lots of ways in which you can capture that after the event. But when it comes to a phone number or a message, then through WhatsApp or SMS, then it's a little bit more tricky. So what we end up understanding is that Sage CRM has a particular interaction or communication flow. If we start off thinking about what's going on the server, we know that the server is going to generate the mobile device. We've seen in previous lessons how our mobile device is generated through the combination of a specific XLST and CSS to be able to generate the HTML that sits within the mobile browser. We know that the server, through escalation rules and notifications, can generate SMS messages, and we know that they can send emails, in which case communication records can be created automatically. If we think about what happens then within our browser, we have our mobile web page, we receive SMS alerts, we receive emails within the phone, but then we need to think about how we can then interact with those and generate our own outbound messages and communications. Now, if we are taking action within inside the interface, we will see how we can in a little bit how we can use table level and escalation rules to be able to write communications into the necessary tables, communication tables, creating tasks, creating communications meetings for us. We've seen as well that if we generate an email, that might sit on our email server, which can then be processed by us back within the office. So we can look at that, and the idea of either copying the outbound emails, so we're sending it through the advanced mail manager, or thinking about an upload. Either way, the data will eventually end up with inside CRM. But SMS messages, phone numbers, and WhatsApp messages, we don't have a mechanism for logging those. So this is partly down to the simplified interface that we have within the mobile device. So the mobile theme prioritizes at some cost in terms of features. So it prioritizes to provide a streamlined user experience, and that results in a different HTML structure and styling compared with the desktop theme. And that means that it causes us some questions about how we can interact with those to potentially do different tasks that are interesting for us. Now, I have mentioned in this lesson and in the previous lessons how our interface is really a product of the XLST rendering. So we have an XLST file that transforms XML that is generated from within inside CRM into the HTML for the mobile theme. That rendered output in the mobile device is distinct from the desktop theme. It uses a different desktop uses a different XLST mechanism to render the interface, and that difference is going to be the root cause of much of what the limitations are within side here. Everything is to do with making the interface as light as possible, so it will run as well as possible within inside a mobile device. Now, our experience of this goes straight away. If we right mouse click on either the desktop screen or a mobile screen, we will see that different JavaScript and CSS files are included. There's some difference as to which screen is being loaded, but the mobile theme is going to use mobile specific JavaScript libraries, so such as the jQuery mobile library, and you can see that if you look at viewing the source, whereas the desktop theme relies on other versions of the libraries, including it adds in the idea of the client-side API as well. So all of this is useful, but unfortunately, the client-side API isn't part of the tool set of the mobile device. So we have a profound difference within here because there's desktop, it's very different from mobile. The examples those two things come from are the new company screen, the company entry screen, and we'll find that any options that we do, if we want to carry out some interaction with mobile features, we are constrained. Now, we are also constrained because of the way in which then the HTML arrives on the screen. So the HTML theme produces, as I said, an HTML that is different from the standard desktop interface. We see that there is some difference in the structure, the element naming, and the ID system used in the mobile theme may not entirely match with those of the desktop theme. We have to look at it and look at the screens and understand what are the elements that they're called, and you can see that there's different ways of addressing these elements, whether you're looking at the desktop or the mobile screen. And here, this type of screen should be very familiar to you. This is where we are editing a company box screen, but a company box short. And if you've done any coding with inside Sage CRM, you'll be aware that you can use the custom content box to be able to deliver additional HTML or additional JavaScript into a screen as the screen is returned onto the desktop interface. Now, unfortunately, one of the things that we can't have is that there's no use of the custom content box. The custom content box enhancements will not function in the mobile theme. They'll just be ignored and it won't be written out. That means we have to, if we want to do any customization, we have to look at what is available to us. And actually, there is something available to us, and that's the on-change script. It's very strange as a mechanism to do this, because you might want to be able to code using the custom content to be able to control all multiple fields. But actually, Sage CRM's mobile theme is expecting us only to trigger behavior as information on the screen changes. So it's the on change for us. And we can do quite a bit with this. It allows us to implement client-side behaviors that respond to changes in field value. So as a drop-down list is changed, you can trigger some behavior as somebody changes the value in a field. It's there. And if I think about what we can do is that we can look at a value if somebody changes. I think here if somebody changes a field text typing in, it's automatically capitalized. But we can do other things. We can actually provide alerts and notifications onto the screen. We can do things straight away using an on-change script. So what is there that we can do? Now, the mobile device that Sage CRM, mobile theme that Sage CRM generates is a web page. We are experiencing within our mobile phones a web page, and that can interact with mobile device features beyond the tell and the mail to links that we've been exploring or talking about. These interactions could allow for a richer, more integrated user experience. There are facilities that we can do. So we can think about geolocation. We could think about potentially opening up the camera and the microphone, even thinking about accelerometer or accelerator or gyroscope type behavior. We don't typically have to worry about this because, after all, we'll see in tomorrow's lesson that Sage CRM is responsive as to whether we've gone and put the device horizontally or what. So there is some examples there. Now, we might want to do a whole range of things. If you are going to play around, please be aware that HTTPS, that slide, by the way, should say HTTPS is required or not required, is that we need to make sure that for most things that are handling any sensitivity, like the location, like the camera, they are all going to be guarded and must be only available on an HTTPS connection. But I can start to give an example here of how we might use geolocation within the screens. So this is an example of linking geolocation to an on-change event. But this code then retrieves the user's latitude and longitude using the phone's geolocation behavior, combines them into a string formatted as a URL, and then sets that string into another field, which is actually our geolocation element. Our geolocation element, that field, has been set up as type www root. So it's going to have the hyperlink behavior associated with it. And so we can actually see this in action. So here you can see that this is on a custom entity. This is on the project. So these two fields have been added in of the log location or geolocation as well. So I'm saying yes. I'm going to change that to yes, I do want it. And what happens, because I'm using a mobile device, it's going to prompt me, do I want this to happen? Now, I've done a cheat here. I've done this in the context of my local host. This wasn't on my phone. This was on my emulator. And my emulator is pointed directly at my local host, and that's considered then, for the sake of that connection, as a secure connection. So you need to have you'd only see this when you want it actually on your phone through the use of a HTTPS connection. But here you can say it's giving the user a chance. Do they want to allow geolocation? Let's assume they do. So they'll say yes to that. Then what happens, and that geolocation information is written then into the field. And it works. So I can save the record. And if I click now on that hyperlink, it will open up the mapping behavior on the phone or the mobile device. And that's whether it is, on the phone or the mobile, it will do that. Now, we've seen that it's entirely possible to work with some of the mobile device features. We know about phones, we know about emails, we know how we would then capture emails sent from the system. We know that we can respond to all of that. There are differences in the client-side coding capabilities and the way in which we would have to write for the concept of the JavaScript that we're dealing with. I think the general view is that we should be looking and treating the mobile theme customization as a unique process, not trying to just, if it works in the desktop, it should work inside the mobile. It has to be looked at as its own environment for optimized around people's needs. We're going to be exploring a little bit more about the sort of range of devices and the implications when it comes to reporting as well on that in the next lesson. But we do need to be careful with planning and testing, but customizations can be made which are functional and maintainable and actually give quite a nice, smooth experience to our customers. This just about wraps up what I wanted to say in today's lesson. What we've done is we've looked through how we can interact with the device features. We've looked as well at how we can take a distinctly mobile element, the geolocation, and include that inside our customized implementations of Sage CRM and the experience that the mobile screen gives us. Let's see if anyone's got any questions. Thank you. I'll see you in the next lesson, and goodbye.